The only difference between me and most people is I understood something early. Decision-making is a habit, and habits shape destinies. Here's the truly mind-blowing part. Scientifically, the human brain is plastic. It adapts to what you practice. Studies from University College London show a solid habit forms in about 66 days. Make decision-making a habit, and your mind will function differently. You'll think faster, act with more confidence, and, most importantly, break free from the need for external validation. What's people's biggest fear? Not failure. It's judgment for trying something different. But tell me, what's the upside of living a life that pleases others but suffocates you? Imagine if you decided today, with everything you've got, to start a new project, change your financial situation, or eliminate something soul-draining. What could happen in the next 12 months? Or better yet, what could not happen if you don't decide? Decide, don't wait for all the answers. Nobody has them. Not even Kennedy had them when he declared we'd land a man on the moon. He just had a decision. That was enough. Decide. Because on the other side of that decision lies the life you want, and it isn't waiting forever. Everything in the universe vibrates. Nothing is static. Not you. Not your thoughts. Science proves it. Your energy in constant motion, emitting signals, waves, frequencies. And the curious thing, what you feel most intensely, fear, doubt, gratitude, confidence, shapes your frequency. And that frequency determines what you attract. I know it sounds woo-woo. We're taught to believe only in the visible, the tangible, the measurable. But think, have you ever walked into a room and sensed a heavy atmosphere, or met someone and felt instant dislike or connection without a word being spoken? That's vibration. That's frequency. Subtle, yet real. Understanding that our thoughts and feelings create a specific frequency, like a radio station, I realized my life reflected the channel I was tuned into. And the most powerful realization? I could change that channel. Consciously. Most people live at a low vibrational frequency without realizing it, trapped in cycles of complaining, scarcity, and comparison. They wake up thinking about problems, fall asleep worrying about what they lack, and consequently, they continue to reap the same. Not out of malice, but out of habit. An unconscious habit, but a habit nonetheless. I remember a period where everything seemed to go wrong. Deals fell through, trips were cancelled, even simple equipment broke inexplicably. I wondered, why? Why all at once? Only when I stopped, breathed, and observed did I realize I was operating at a frequency of frustration and impatience. Everything around me reflected that internal vibration, and more. That vibration affected everyone around me. My team, my family, my clients. You've noticed those days when everything flows, people respond faster, doors open, even traffic seems to cooperate. Those days aren't luck. They're the result of the frequency you're operating on. And here's a key that can transform everything. Imagination. Most people use their imagination to worry. They create negative scenarios, anticipate problems, relive traumas. That's creation too. Vibration, but in a destructive pattern. But when you consciously decide to use your imagination to visualize the life you want, something shifts. You start to feel it as real, and that alters your frequency. Einstein said imagination is a sacred gift and reason is its servant, but the world has it backward. We honor logic, but forget everything that exists today. Every building, every plane, every phone first existed in someone's mind, including the phone in your hand, more powerful than the computer that took man to the moon. And yet you carry it in your pocket without a second thought. Why? Because someone dared to imagine the impossible. Someone operated at a frequency of vision, of creation. Someone decided not just to react to reality, but to create a new reality. You can too. And more, you already do it unconsciously. Here's a potentially uncomfortable question. What frequency have you been operating on lately, looking at your financial, professional, and emotional life? What channel are you tuned into? Gratitude or scarcity, confidence or doubt? The truth is, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is determined by what you feel, daily, repeatedly. A University of California study showed that people who practice gratitude consistently have significantly higher levels of dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good hormones. But it doesn't stop there. They have greater mental clarity, make better decisions, and on average, earn higher incomes. That's frequency, vibration, science. Know what happens when you operate at a higher frequency. Things that were once complex become easy. People show up at the right time. Ideas flow. Confidence grows. It's like life shifts into a smoother rhythm, even amidst challenges. But be warned, don't expect everyone to understand. When you change your frequency, many will find you strange, different, maybe delusional. They remain on the old channel. That's normal. Don't try to convince them. Maintain your vibration. Because inevitably, results speak louder than words. You might ask, how do I change my frequency? The answer is simple, but it demands commitment. Start with what you consume, what you read, listen to, watch. It shapes your thoughts. Be mindful of what you say. Words have vibration, and most importantly, pay attention to how you feel throughout the day. Emotion is your frequency thermometer. Here's a practical exercise. Every day when you wake up, before checking your phone or thinking about your problems, take a deep breath and visualize an image of the life you want. Don't just see it, feel it. For 5 minutes, imagine what it would be like to be living it right now. Then get up and act as if you're already on that path. Do this for a week. Be surprised by what starts to change, because when your mind and heart align, the universe listens. It always has. It was just waiting for you to stop emitting noise and start emitting direction. For years, nobody taught me how to think. I was conditioned, like most, to obey, memorize, repeat. From childhood, in schools, I sensed something I only understood much later. The education system doesn't prepare anyone to think creatively or make conscious decisions. It prepares you to follow orders, fill in forms, memorize dates. And that silently destroys one of humanity's greatest gifts, imagination. How many times have you felt insecure about not having a degree or about not knowing what to do with your life, even after years of study? That doesn't happen because you're incapable. It happens because you were taught to seek answers externally when they've always been within you. Look at it on a global scale. How many people with impeccable resumes live frustrated lives, with routines they hate and jobs that barely cover their expenses? How many others, without formal education, create businesses, generate ideas, and live with freedom? It's not luck, it's mindset, perception, access to the invisible part of ourselves that the system never encouraged you to explore. That's why it took me so long to take the first step. I believed I couldn't. After all, how could someone who dropped out of school in the 9th grade succeed? How could someone without a college degree start businesses, give talks, write books? That was the mental model I'd inherited, and for a long time, I believed it to be absolute truth. But see, that belief wasn't mine. It was a reflection of the environment, formal education, and the expectations of others. The system never encouraged the development of our invisible gifts, like willpower, intuition, perception, and imagination. And that's where true power lies. Most people never learn to use these resources because they're not visible. They can't be measured on report cards. Nikola Tesla is a perfect example, one of history's greatest geniuses with an incredibly advanced mind. He created innovations we still use today. Yet, he died poor, neglected, misunderstood. Because, while he mastered creation, he didn't understand the mechanics of material value. He didn't know how to translate his ideas into financial reality. He didn't turn vision into practical decision. And that shows something important. Dreaming isn't enough. You need to know how to manifest. Here's a crucial point. When you don't know how to use your imagination as a tool for creation and not escape, you become a prisoner of imposed reality. You wake up and go to sleep repeating patterns you didn't choose. You engage in relationships, jobs, lifestyles that don't represent you but seem normal, because that's what the world expects. Have you ever stopped to consider whether you're living a life you truly chose or just occupying the leftover space? And have you noticed how the fear of judgment paralyzes most people? It's astonishing how someone has a brilliant idea, a talent, a calling, and hides it for fear of what others will think. Why? Because we're trained to please, not to create, to follow rules, not question them. I remember talking to a lost young man. He graduated with honors, had a postgraduate degree, spoke 3 languages, yet felt like a failure. When I asked what he really wanted to do, he looked down. He said he wanted to open a craft bakery, but his parents expected him to be a diplomat. Can you imagine the pain of living trying to meet an expectation that isn't yours? This happens every day, silently, in the most well-structured homes. Now consider, what if, instead of studying to get the answer, schools taught us to ask questions, to doubt, to imagine, to experiment? How many lives could be rescued from emotional mediocrity? The truth is, there's still time. There always is. The human mind is fertile ground, and the good news is, it never stops learning. Even at 40, 50, 70 years old, the brain can be shaped, rewired, re-educated. But that requires a commitment to a new way of thinking. If you feel the life you live today doesn't represent you, don't blame yourself. And most importantly, don't think it's too late. The first step is to reclaim your power to imagine, to dream with clarity, to question the path you're on, and the second step is to make it a lifestyle. Set aside a few minutes a day, even just 5, to disconnect from the noise and imagine how you'd truly like your life to be. Make it a ritual, a practice. You'll find that the clearer your vision, the more your external world will reorganize itself. As Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's a truth school will never teach you, but one you can start living today. There's a precise moment when everything starts to transform. It's not when you get an opportunity or when that longed-for sum of money finally appears. The real turning point happens when your inner belief aligns with what you desire, when what you believe about yourself finally matches the future you say you want. That's when the magic, or if you prefer, the physics, kicks in. This isn't mysticism, it's natural law. When your mind deeply commits to a desired state, you begin to vibrate at the same frequency as that reality. And, like any energetic wave, you connect, merge with it. From there, circumstances, ideas, people, and events begin to emerge as if the universe is responding, because it is. It always has been. It was just waiting for you to truly believe. I've seen this happen so many times. I've seen ordinary people without any technical advantage achieve extraordinary things, but they all had something in common. They decided to believe before they saw. They chose to trust what they felt inside, even when everything outside seemed improbable. And that takes courage. Because by strongly believing in something that's not yet visible, you distance yourself from the majority's pattern, and the majority will question, doubt, criticize. How many times have you had a dream and kept quiet because you knew others wouldn't understand? How many times did you start something with enthusiasm but stopped because someone made a negative comment? How many plans did you fail to put into action just because you couldn't see exactly how everything would unfold? This need to see the entire staircase before taking the first step is what paralyzes most people. But you don't need to see the whole staircase, just climb the first step with faith. That's how it was for me. At one point, I decided to impact the world with my teachings. I had no idea how. I had no structure, team, or reach, but I saw it, I felt it, and I acted as if it were already happening. Every day, even before I had an audience, I behaved like someone leading a global mission, and gradually the pieces started falling into place. Invitations came, partnerships appeared, resources were attracted, but none of that would have happened if I had waited to see before believing. It was the opposite. Have you noticed how often when you decide to buy something important, even without knowing how you'll pay for it, things start to happen to help you? Someone offers a discount, an unexpected amount appears, a solution emerges. It's as if the universe says, now you're committed, let's do this. That's the real dynamic of manifestation. First, you focus, then you feel, and then you act as if it's already on its way. The biggest mistake is waiting to feel confident only after everything is guaranteed. But confidence is the fuel, not the prize. By cultivating it internally, even if nothing around you justifies it, your frequency rises and everything begins to move. I like to use a simple, almost silly example, but one that clearly reveals this dynamic. Ever needed a new outfit for a party, couldn't afford it, but decided you'd get it anyway. Then you found a sale, a loan, your card worked. You decided, felt it, acted, and reality responded. That's the power of unwavering belief applied to your biggest dreams. The dream home, financial freedom, a fulfilling career. What if you approached those aspirations with the same ferocious conviction? What if you truly believed success wasn't just possible, but inevitable? There's a point where your mind creates such a vivid picture of what you want that your subconscious accepts it as reality. And your subconscious controls 95% of your daily choices and actions. So when this alignment happens, you automatically move toward your goal. You start thinking like that person, acting like them, talking like them. To others, it looks like sheer luck, but you know it's vibrational coherence. As this new frequency becomes your essence, anything out of harmony starts to fall away. Friendships shift, habits change, old patterns dissolve. It can hurt sometimes. Letting go of an old identity is scary, but it's also incredibly liberating. And here's something few people mention. When you raise your vibration, don't expect universal applause. People might think you've changed, that you're delusional, unrealistic. They don't understand. You're not living reality anymore. You're creating it. They're not on your level of consciousness, and that's okay. It's not your job to convince them. Your task is persistence, staying true to the person you've chosen to become. Still doubtful? Consider Jim Carrey. Before he hit it big, he wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered. He dated it, kept it in his wallet, and visualized himself signing million-dollar contracts daily. Years later, he received exactly that amount for a single role. Coincidence? I think not. It's alignment. What you consistently believe, you manifest. The universe is mental. It all starts with an idea that materializes when it meets a determined heart. Mind thinks, heart feels, body acts. Together, they create. So for the next 7 days before bed, close your eyes and vividly imagine the life you crave. See it, feel it, hear it, breathe it in as if you're already living it. Then wake up and act like someone already on that path, even when the world screams otherwise, because ultimately the world responds to your beliefs about yourself. And when that belief is unshakable, nothing can stop you. Nothing. Ever wonder how a simple decision, something most people do without a second thought, could be the single biggest obstacle to achieving your dreams? Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. Most people fail not for lack of talent, drive, or intelligence, but because they never truly decided. I know this firsthand. Back in 1961, I was a Toronto firefighter, one of many clocking in early and out late, perpetually underpaid, drowning in debt, utterly directionless. No education, no goals, no aspirations, just existing, taking whatever life threw my way. Sound familiar? Then one day someone showed up with a book, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Initially, it felt like another empty promise, but something hooked me. I devoured it page after page until I hit a chapter on decision-making. That stopped me cold. I realized with shocking clarity I had no idea what a real decision even was. Until then, I'd just been reacting. I'd never made a truly irrevocable choice. Do you ever feel like you're on autopilot, waking up to a mental to-do list of bills, appointments and problems, only finding solace in the weekend? And when you think about change, about something new, that little voice whispers, "Not now, I need more money, the timing's not right." The trap is thinking we need to wait for things to change before deciding. It's the opposite. The decision comes first. Always. People talk a big game about changing their lives, escaping debt, achieving financial independence, traveling with their families, starting a business, quitting their soul-crushing jobs. But when you ask, have you decided to do this? Most go silent. They haven't decided. They just wish. Wishing is passive. Deciding is active. Deciding means eliminating other options, even the excuses. And the most incredible part? When you decide with absolute clarity and conviction, circumstances shift. It's not magic, it's physics. Your frequency changes, your focus sharpens, and things that were previously invisible suddenly appear. Opportunities, ideas, solutions, courage. They weren't there before because you hadn't committed to yourself. I remember Pat and John, a couple I met at a Toronto hotel, wanting to buy a house. "Then buy one," I said. They laughed. "Bob, we don't have the money." "Of course you don't," I replied. "You haven't decided." They looked at me like I was speaking Klingon. But I explained, money never comes before the decision. The decision is the starting gun. It's a signal you send to the universe and to your own mind that something is a priority. Priorities attract solutions. Think about the last time you needed to buy something important, even if you weren't sure how you'd afford it. A broken appliance, a plane ticket, a suit for a special occasion. You decided you needed it, and you found a way. You cut back elsewhere, paid in installments, asked for help, got creative. The decision came first. When I decided in 1961 to quit my job and start a cleaning company with no money, experience or training, the world thought I was insane. They said I was dreaming too big to be realistic. But what does realistic even mean? Repeating a life you hate because it's familiar. Staying stuck in a rut because that's just how it is. That first year, inexplicably, that company generated over $100,000. A man with no degree, no mentor, no business plan, just a decision. It changed everything, and I wasn't an exception.